if I get elected.
The 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
I will end the war in Ukraine, I will stop the chaos in the Middle East, and I will prevent World War III from happening. Not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. We have no choice. Within moments of my inauguration, we will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in America. To expedite the removals of these savage gangs, and I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. The word tariff, properly used, is a beautiful word. One of the most beautiful words I've ever heard. It's music to my ears. We're going to have to go through a little tough love, maybe, but they all understand. They're ripping us off. The American people have given us their trust, and in return, we're going to give them the best first day, the biggest first week, and the most extraordinary first 100 days of any presidency in American history. Many people thought it was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback.
This was no ordinary victory. This was a fork in the road of human civilization.
Now the work begins. We won. And now we're going to go and drill, baby, drill, and do all the things that we've wanted to do. We're not finished yet. We're doing this on the very first day in office. You're going to be happy reading newspapers tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. Could you imagine Biden doing this? I don't think so.
None of the executive orders will do anything meaningful to make life more affordable to working families.
Security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, sir. Do you have a comment?
No, I think, when you work for government, at some point your security detail comes off.
Do you feel partially responsible if something were to happen to, say, Dr. Fauci or John Bolton?
No.
President Trump is back. He has launched Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. He directed all federal agencies to terminate illegal diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. No more funding for illegal DEI programs. No more funding for the Green New scam. No more funding for transgenderism and wokeness.
Donald Trump has done a lot of bad things in the last week. It is nothing less than Project 2025 by another name.
I'm also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
American Eagle Flight 5342, operated by PSA Airlines, traveling from Wichita, Kansas to Washington Reagan National Airport, has been involved in an accident near Washington, D.C. It appears to have collided with a military aircraft on approach.
I put safety first. Obama, Biden, and the Democrats put policy first. We have to have our smartest people. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, matters intellect, talent. You can't have regular people doing that job. They won't be able to do it. Secretary of State Rubio is in Panama. What they've done is terrible. They violated the agreement. China's running the Panama Canal. That was not given to China. That was given to Panama foolishly. We're going to take it back, or something very powerful is going to happen. USAID, run by radical lunatics, and we're getting them out.
Musk and his band of unelected acolytes at Doge have locked out USAID employees from their offices.
It's a completely unresponsive agency. It's supposed to respond to policy directives of the State Department, and it refuses to do so.
This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like.
I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do.
What I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. Any one of our states build the cars. They can do it very easily. We don't need them. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it. It would be my hope that we could do something really nice, really good, where they wouldn't want to return. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell.
Fire Elon Musk. An unelected, unaccountable billionaire now has seemingly unlimited powers over Americans' private data.
We're flying right over it right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please direct your attention out the right side of the aircraft. Air Force One is currently in international waters, the first time in history flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America.
We're doing a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. Do you understand what that means? This is the beginning of making America rich again.
If it comes to that, our response, of course, will be firm and clear.
People voted for major government reform, and that's what people are going to get. They're going to get what they voted for. All of our actions are fully public. So if you see anything, maybe that's, there's a conflict there. I sort of like people are going to be shy about saying that. They'll say it immediately.
And if we thought that, we would not let him do that segment or look in that area if we thought there was a lack of transparency or a conflict of interest.
Some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected.
We're on the way to getting peace. I think President Putin wants peace, and President Zelensky wants peace, and I want peace. I just want to see people stop getting killed. Ukraine cannot go into NATO, and I'm okay with that.
Do you view Ukraine as an equal member of this peace process?
It's an interesting question. I think they have to make peace. I call it an element of success, reciprocal tariffs, so that somebody charges us, we charge them the same amount, which has never been done in our country before.
In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views. The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America.
It's a senseless war. It should have never happened, would have never happened if I was president. Should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made the deal. A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast. I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. I've had very good talks with Putin, and I've had not such good talks with Ukraine. They don't have any cards, but they play it tough.
Call Zelensky a dictator. Would you use the same words regarding Putin?
I don't use those words lightly. I think that we're going to see how it all works out. Let's see what happens.
Russia invaded the sovereign nation of Ukraine. That is the cold, hard truth of it. I never thought I would see the day when our president would be a puppet for a dictator.
Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team.
A gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus.
We got it done. We had the requisite number of votes to move this process along, and now passing the budget resolution in the House, it will go to the Senate.
We've put together a great cabinet, and we've had tremendous success. We're doing very well with Russia, Ukraine. President Zelensky is going to be coming on Friday. That's now confirmed, and we're going to be signing an agreement on rare earth. Well, if I didn't align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, "Hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the deal?" It doesn't work that way.
And the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy.
In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire.
Do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. Yeah, you're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
Have you said thank you once? This entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
If you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? I think it takes two to tango, and you're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine. You're going to have the assent, and you're going to have the consent from the European nations, because I think that's important, and from us. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal, and if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. That person will not be listened to very long.
On the tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight, and should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Frankly, when he speaks tonight, what can he possibly say that the American people should take seriously? Donald Trump has done nothing to brag about tonight.
America is back. 6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country.
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We need Greenland for national security and even international security. And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
Last night, Donald Trump subjected the American people to a deluge of falsehoods, misrepresentations, and outright lies.
We spoke with the big three auto dealers. We are going to give a 1-month exemption on any autos coming through USMCA. Reciprocal tariffs will still go into effect on April 2nd.
In order to protect American car manufacturers and American farmers, we have 2 modifications to the IEEPA tariffs that have already been announced against Canada and Mexico.
It basically makes it more fair for our car manufacturers during the short-term period before April 2nd. April 2nd is a little bit different.
There's no use for this. Don't worry about it. You're going to have to come with us. Don't worry. I'm coming with you. Don't worry.
You guys really don't need to be doing all of that.
The tariffs are going to be the greatest thing we've ever done as a country. It's going to make our country rich again. Elon's a very special person, and these cabinet people are special people. You know, these are very successful people. I think they have a fantastic relationship to Elon. That doesn't mean they don't have a little bit of an argument here and there about something, or maybe personal arguments.
We want justice, you say how? We want justice, you say how? ICE off our campus now! ICE off our campus now!
What crime did Mahmoud Khalil commit to warrant his arrest, detention, and the potential revocation of his green card?
Let me tell you something. If you're on a student visa, I'm going to say this clearly. If you are on a student visa and you're in America, and you're an aspiring young terrorist who wants to prey upon your Jewish classmates, you're going home.
Yeah. He has never asked me for a thing, and he's built this great company, and he shouldn't be penalized because he's a patriot. He's an incredible patriot. I think he's been treated very unfairly by a very small group of people. So I just wanted to make a statement. I'm going to buy one. Now, here's the bad news. I'm not allowed to drive.
As of this morning, the United States is applying a 25% tariff on imports of steel and aluminum. We deeply regret this measure.
Republicans do not have the votes in the Senate to invoke cloture on the House CR. Our caucus is unified on a clean April 11th CR that will keep the government open and give Congress time to negotiate bipartisan legislation that can pass.
I can tell you what's not good for the economy is this government shutdown.
I don't know what Democrats are thinking here, because they're going to own it.
If it shuts down, it's not the Republicans' fault. Even the Democrats admit it'll be their fault.
Said many times, there are no winners in a government shutdown. But there are certainly victims. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open and not shut it down.
The president, through proclamation, took his authority under Alien Enemies Act, and we removed in one day over 200 dangerous people. We abided by the court's decision. His written order was on 5 illegal aliens. They didn't want to deport them, and we abided by that. By the time the other order came, the plane was already over international waters.
All of the planes, subject to the written order of this judge, departed U.S. soil, U.S. territory before the judge's written order.
You cannot have a democracy where single individual district court judges can assume the full total powers of the commander-in-chief. It's essential the Supreme Court crack down and stop this assault on our democracy from these radical, rogue judges.
In a few moments, I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education once and for all.
Can you share how your information about war plans against the Houthis in Yemen was shared with a journalist in The Atlantic?
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again.
No, that's a lie. He was texting war plans. He was texting attack plans. When targets were going to be targeted, how they were going to be targeted, who was at the targets.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it.
It should absolutely be a congressional investigation so that we can understand what happened, why did it happen, and how do we prevent this type of national security breach from ever happening again. This whole Trump administration is filled with lackeys and incompetent cronies.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth should resign.
I think this is one more example of the kind of sloppy, careless, incompetent behavior, particularly towards classified information.
That wasn't a huge mistake.
Well, I think they characterized it as
embarrassment. This is utterly unprofessional. There's been no apology.
This is the beginning of Liberation Day in America. And what we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States.
And this is a direct attack, to be clear, a direct attack.
If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country.
Our message to Denmark is very simple. You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland. You have underinvested in the people of Greenland, and you have underinvested in the security architecture. That has to change. And because it hasn't changed, this is why President Trump's policy in Greenland is what it is.
I rise with the intention of disrupting the normal business of the United States Senate for as long as I am physically able. We have to say to history where we stood when they were coming after our constitutional principles, where we stood when they were disappearing people from America. Where were you when they came after the health care of the disabled? Where were you when they attacked veterans? Where were you when we turned our back on Ukraine?
Do you know you have just broken the record? Do you know how proud this caucus is of you? Do you know how proud America is of you?
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. In other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? They will be, because we never charged anybody anything, but now we're going to charge.
This is a tax, plain and simple. Taxes should not be enacted by one person.
The administration's tariffs
have no basis in logic.
There seems to be no order in the disorder.
This is an extraordinary day for the world economy.
You'll see how it's going to turn out. Our country's going to boom.
The president made one of the dumbest decisions in history.
No, their economies are not crashing. The markets are reacting. No, their economies are not crashing.
I hope it is agreed that both Europe and the United States should move, ideally, in my view, to a zero tariff situation.
A lot of leaders, European, Asian, from all over the world, they're dying to make a deal. But I said, we're not going to have deficits with your country.
We have offered 0 for 0 tariffs for industrial goods.
The EU has been very tough over the years. I always say it was formed to really do damage to the United States in trade. With China, as you know, against my statement, they put a 34% tariff on above what their ridiculous tariffs were already.
Countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their mistreatment of American workers, are making a mistake.
These countries are calling us up, kissing my ass.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. These last few days have been really tough for Michigan.
There will be a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs as these negotiations are ongoing, and the tariff level will be brought down to a universal 10% tariff.
China will be raised to 125 due to their insistence on escalation.
Why you decided to put a 90-day pause?
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid.
This has just wreaked havoc on the markets, of course, but there is another profound danger as well, and that is insider trading within the White House, within the administration.
It's incredible. I think Scott and I'm not sure we could ever have enough time in the day to talk to all these countries because they want to talk and they want to talk now. We're getting the respect we deserve now, and I think you're going to see historic deals one after the other.
Here's the big news that people across the country haven't heard but need to know. 50 days from today, Donald Trump must, by law, fire Elon Musk.
On March 12th, my husband Kilmer was abducted and disappeared by the Trump administration. It's been 28 days. Court ruled that indeed this should have never happened. My life partner Kilmer should have returned home 50 hours ago. This so-called administration error has destroyed my family's happiness.
The deadline for registration under the Alien Registration Act is today. All foreign nationals present in the United States longer than 30 days must register with the federal government. Failure to comply with this is a crime, punishable by fines, imprisonment, or both.
I trust that all of you know that you are living under a corrupt campaign finance system which allows billionaires to buy elections. But it's not just Musk and Republicans, it's the Democratic Party as well.
Members of Congress have somehow conditioned itself to actually believe that it is normal for elected representatives who swear an oath to the American people to day trade individual stocks that make millions.
Do you have a reaction to Russia's Palm Sunday attack on Ukraine?
I think it was terrible, and I was told they made a mistake. But I think it's a horrible thing.
You mean it was unintentional?
They made a mistake. I believe it was. Look, you're going to ask them. This is Biden's war. This is not my war.
And to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported. The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it per the court can only be directed to him.
Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to have suggested that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's always how
can I return him to the United States? Like, could I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it.
This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. The foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court.
Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago.
Why don't you just say, Isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that?
Nothing will change the fact that Abrego Garcia will never be a Maryland father. He will never live in the United States of America again.
He is an illegal alien who has been living illegally in our country from El Salvador. ICE testified, an immigration judge ruled he was a member of MS-13. Hard stop. He should not be in our country.
I just landed at the airport in San Salvador a little while ago. As I've said before, the goal of my visit is to talk to people here about the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Last night at about 6:40 p.m. El Salvador time, 8:45 p.m. here on the East Coast, I called Jennifer to tell her that I had met with Kilmar. As the federal courts have said, we need to bring Mr. Abrego Garcia home to protect his constitutional rights to due process.
I think from the U.S. perspective, we've spent 3 years, billions of dollars supporting the Ukrainian side, and but now we've reached the point where we have other things we have to focus on. We're prepared to be engaged in this as long as it takes, but not indefinitely, not without progress. If this is not possible, we're going to need to move on. I think the president feels strongly that we've dedicated we've done more in 80 days than Biden ever did to bring this war to an end.
Are you bringing up Signal again? I thought they gave that up 2 weeks ago.
There was a new report this weekend that he used it in a separate chat that included some family members.
It's all just the same old stuff from the media. That's an old one. Try finding something new.
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people.
I just signed an executive order putting the flags of our country at half-mast in honor of Pope Francis.
And it's been clear since day one from this administration that we are not going to tolerate individuals who leak to the mainstream media. And the Secretary of Defense is doing a tremendous job. And he is bringing monumental change to the Pentagon. And there's a lot of people in this city who reject monumental change. And I think, frankly, that's why we've seen a smear campaign against the Secretary of Defense.
I'm going to play hardball with China. I'm going to play hardball with you, President Xi. No. We're going to be very nice. They're going to be very nice. And we'll see what happens. But ultimately, they have to make a deal because otherwise they're not going to be able to deal in the United States. So we want them involved. We are going to have a fair deal with China. It's going to be fair.
Are you talking to them actively now?
Actively. Everything's active. Everybody wants to be a part of what we're doing.
China's current economic model is built on exporting its way out of its economic troubles. It's an unsustainable model that is not only harming China, but the entire world. China needs to change.
I think we have a deal with Russia. We have to get a deal with Zelensky, and I hope that Zelensky, I thought it might be easier to deal with Zelensky. So far it's been hard, but I think we have a deal with both.
What is your level of frustration with President Putin?
I didn't like last night. I wasn't happy with it. And we're in the midst of talking peace, and missiles were fired. You don't know what pressure I'm putting on Russia. They're dealing. You have no idea what pressure I'm putting on Russia. We're putting a lot of pressure. More weapons, and we're going to see what happens. I want to see what happens with respect to Russia. I see him as calmer. I think he understands the picture, and I think he wants to make a deal. I don't know if he wants to make a deal.
The American people have said inside of 100 days, enough. This is a disaster. It's an unmitigated disaster. This guy has the lowest approval rating of any president in modern American history inside of 100 days.
Today officially marks 100 days of promises made and promises kept by President Trump. This has truly been the most historic start to a presidency in American history.